This video is a follow-up to a video I made several years ago for this eGo Cycle 2 bike that was originally made in California. I used it almost stock when I was in college, and then whenever I started to work for Tesla, I made several modifications based on the learnings that I had at work. It helped me learn by doing. It had a big old Elite Power Solutions lithium-ion pack on the back. It had another pack inside of it. The motor was in the middle here in the chassis. It was belt driven, had stock tires, and I think I had some wheels fabricated in China and shipped over to update the spoked wheels that were on there. Now we've made several modifications since then, and we'll go over those throughout this video. The original bike had lead acid batteries, very heavy batteries, 2 of them sitting together, wired in series right here. This bike is like the 3rd version of the upgrade, and essentially what it has is 2 lithium-ion batteries. That's going to be a recurring theme for this bike. They are hidden away in the chassis here. They're just laying on top of one each other, secured with Velcro straps in the chassis of the bike. The motor was moved out of the chassis. It was a belt drive, and it was exchanged for these 1800 watt hub motors, one in the front, one in the back. There are 2 motor controllers right here as well to use the energy from the 2 batteries that are in here to run the 2 motors. There's also 2 chargers in the top of this front part of this bike as well, in the chassis, to make everything sort of fully independent. If the one drivetrain, let's say for the rear front wheel, goes out, the other drivetrain is still fully independent, can use motor control, can drive, can charge on its own. Very redundant, but we found a way to fit it all in here, so why not? Let's take a look inside the bike also. 2 screws here, 4 screws here. This can come off. Inside you'll see a 12 volt to 24 volt converter. There's my fuse panel. Down below you can see the 2 300 watt chargers we talked about before, with a little bit of padding behind them, in between them I mean. The 2 1800 watt 48 volt motor controllers. Those 2 motor controllers feed down to through the chassis, one of them to the back to this 1600 watt hub motor. Same exact motor up front, a little bit of motor contention between them. Love to hear your thoughts below on how I can deal with the motor contention. On full throttle you'll get a little bit of fighting back and forth from the motors trying to be number one. Love to hear some input on anybody that's dealt with motor contention before. But there's the 2 Luna-Cycle, one stacked on top of the other, secured with Velcro. Luna-Cycle 24 amp hour batteries. So we went from about 35 amp hours of lead acid, heavy batteries, to 48 amp hours of comparably super light lithium-ion batteries. Bike will go about 50 more miles. I don't even know how far it'll go. Pulling kids up and down the mountains in San Diego, the hills along the bike paths there. The overall brains of the bike is this Luna-Cycle 2 bike analyzer. Change several hundred parameters on the bike whenever I want. Gone around back and forth with how to handle like a speedometer, and typically using some kind of cell phone or iPad mini or something, just to try to figure out what to do about how to mount it on there with magnets, very strong magnets, on how to have like a LCD or visual display of things. But yeah, both controllers are mapped to this twist throttle right here. That's a wing light. Put the link in the description below for that too. To get this thing stopped, we've got hydraulic brakes that come up to these lever arms right here. When you depress these lever arms, you'll get much more regen, more than enough regen to stop the bike. And then if you continue to depress them, you'll get a grip on the rotors down here to get the bike stopped. These Sunday Big Apple Tires, could not be more impressed with this product. Love this product. Went through several tires, pinch flats, just over and over. Couldn't figure out what to put on this bike. Very heavy for a BMX style tire rim bike. These things have held air for years, almost at the exact same pressure. Could not be more impressed. Again, I'll put the link in the description below for them. Still don't have an answer for fabricating. I'm looking for a shop here in Charlotte that can fabricate this caliper so that I can grab this rear disc for even more stopping power. But again, there's so much regen on this bike. It's kind of ridiculous how much regen's on this bike. It won't lock them up, but it's pretty close to being able to, you know, skid the tires for regen. I've actually had to map it down a little bit. Gonna be taking these foot pegs off because my kids don't ride directly on the back of this bike anymore. We used to pull a trailer behind this bike with kids and groceries and whatnot, but we switched, now that they're bigger, switched to this bag and took the seat off the back when they were sort of that size. I'll be taking those foot pegs off pretty soon. But yeah, that's the internal. There's my Thudbuster. Since it's got an OEM front suspension on it. eGo's still selling front suspensions for 150 bucks. You can still buy a chassis for 150 bucks for pretty cheap in my mind. But couldn't live without that Thudbuster for my 200-pound self to keep it. Got the bushings relative to my weight on there. Trying to keep myself. There's a rear tail light. Again, these are just rechargeable LEDs that I use. And I went through some headlights on it, but mounted right there. But I ended up just going with this. Rechargeable lights seemed a lot easier. Very bright anyway. And still super proud of this bike. Had it since college when it was a 35 amp hour belt driven mediocre. I'd say it was mediocre in my EV snob opinion, but now it's definitely overbuilt, which is how I like my engineering. And if you have questions or comments, please put them down below. I'm looking for thoughts on motor contention or how to find a fabrication shop that can grab, that people kind of like can't believe what I've built when I bring the bike in, but just looking for answers on how to get a rear bike fabricator or what I should do with this bike. You know, hold on to it forever, or do you think there's somebody out there that deserves this bike? Either way, thanks a lot for tuning in, and this is the update video on the eGo Cycle 2 from a couple years ago, and I will catch you in the next video.